from Screen Junkie Studios in the heart of Los Angeles, this is Screen Junkies Movie Fights. Now your host, Andy Signore.
Hello, movie fighters! Did you know it's the 20th anniversary of Face Off? That's right, Face Off. So we thought, what better time to do an all-special movie fights? That's right, we are doing a cage match!
Oh, no, not the beast, not the beast!
Oh, beautiful. That's right, guys. It's an all Nicolas Cage themed movie fight. So we're going with what's the best, what performance describes the essence of Nicolas Cage? What's the actual best performance? What's the best one-liner? And what movie will be most improved by replacing both the hero and the villain with Nicolas Cage in a dual role? Also, what Nicolas Cage character would win a cage match in a bare-knuckle fight? So much fun stuff. You're going to want to stay tuned. And I'm so happy to reveal our fighters today. Look who's here. Oh, yeah. We got John Flickinger, host of Movie vs. Movie here on Plus, and as well as the Flick Pick on YouTube. Welcome, John, back.
Hey, it's good to be here, man. This is a great episode. I'm excited. I'm scared at the same time. But it's Nicolas Cage, so I can't wait to talk about it.
I can't wait to hear you guys talk about it. Next up, she made her debut on the debut death match and made such an impression. She's back already. You can see her in Screen Junkies News, Miss Charlie Feldman.
Thanks very much. I decided to go for High from Raising Arizona, but it's a day to night look, so I can go Cameron Poe if I want to. Just roll up my sleeves
Son,
again.
you got a panty on your head.
Going for some dappers.
Yeah, it's good. Love it. Finally, he's a comedian and a schmo. And we're helping him try and cross the 300,000 subscriber barrier, which I feel like this is taking way too long. What is wrong with you in YouTube? Come on.
I haven't been back in too long.
Hit that button and go subscribe to Schmoes Know, Mr. Mark Ellis.
To stump. Thank you, Andy. Chemical super freak, actually, but I still need a gun.
That YouTube algorithm, man, it's just messing everything up.
We're this close. We're this close. You go there, you
Let's
subscribe.
do it. Let's take him over the edge.
If we get to
Forget
300,000.
Smash Mouth, Dan. Let's get Schmoes there.
Hey, we did that, by the way. Thank you.
We did. I saw those
We
there.
put Smash
Oh my
Mouth
God,
over
Dan!
100 million.
Whoa, Dan! Don't
Yes.
believe. Who is that next to you, ladies and gentlemen?
Oh my God, he just
Nicolas
appeared.
Cage!
I'm here! The actual Nicolas Cage!
Wow.
Celery voice is not impersonated, I'm the real deal.
Wow,
He
Mr.
just
Cage,
appeared out of
thank
nowhere.
you
He
for
was
being
not
here. Wow, well, this is an immense honor. Wow, how have you been?
I've been amazing! I'm dangerously high off dinosaur bone dust. Snorted a whole shitload of it before the show.
Wow, all right. Well, I hope maybe then that'd be great if you can help us fact check the show. And Dan will fact check, and if you can help us tell us about the performances or anything you were thinking, that would be. I mean, that would be amazing.
I'm not sure a guy who sniffs dinosaur dust is a fact checker, Andy, but it's the real Nicolas Cage, so we gotta go.
Who's gonna know better than him?
Yeah.
We're beyond facts when you talk
But wow, honor to have you, Mr. Nicolas Cage.
Thank you, it's an honor to be
Next to
here.
you, Dan Merle. This is what you're next to Nicolas Cage fact checking. I mean,
That's amazing. Like I said, he was not here when we started the show. He just appeared in a puff of dinosaur bone dust. And
I burst through the couch. That's where I'm living now.
from the
I'm in a lot of debt.
There you go. Yes.
Hey, Dan, can I ask, are you on the Screen Junkies Wi-Fi, or Nicolas Cage is an actual Wi-Fi router himself?
He's a hotspot. He's a
Yeah,
human
he's
hotspot.
a real walking
Yeah,
hotspot. Yeah.
That's so cool.
He had it installed after Face Off.
Yeah.
Well, guys, let's start the show real quick. I want to remind, set a reminder, because next Tuesday, this Tuesday coming up, is our 200th Honest Trailer, and you're going to want to watch it first thing. Check it out. Make sure you set your Suris or whatever. What is Samsung?
Siri.
Siri wake you up.
Not Surrey.
Siri, Alexas, whatever. Tell them all. 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for the 200th Honest Trailer. And while you're setting reminders, don't forget Flickbait is back Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We had fun last week, Dan, didn't we?
We did. We had a blast.
If you like the Honest Trailer crew, we made idiots of ourselves and talked the news and had some clickbait nonsense. It was fun. We'll be back tomorrow if you're watching on Plus, and if you're already on YouTube, there's 2 episodes you can go check out. So go check them out. Guys, last announcement. I got to say this. I'm so happy to announce. Everyone's like, why isn't Dan put the belt back up? What's going on? Where's that fans vote? Well, Dan Merle, do you even know that we are about to announce this?
I don't know who the winners. I legitimately do not know who the winners of these are. Okay.
Next week's fight will be the fan choice vote for the last spot to take you on. So,
finals, yes.
you guys at home were voting. I'm happy to announce that next week, if you tune back in, you will be seeing these 3 people fight in no particular order based on the voting, just because there was a clear winner, but there were 3 winners. The winner of the fan choice poll is drum roll. We don't have that, but we'll pretend like we do. There we go. Mr. Coy Jandreau.
Okay.
Yeah, Coy.
Coy's back in the running.
Yep.
Good people.
Mr. Mike Carlson. Oh,
wow.
my goodness. Botanicus himself
Great
is
in
back in the
insurance
running.
commercials, that Mike Carlson. Great in insurance
I
commercials.
see him all the time in LA, especially. Finally, somehow eked in there, the outlaw John Roca. He cannot not have a chance again. The fans want him. He's there. John Roca, Coy, and Mike Carlson will be taking next week's chance at the belt. The winner of that show will go up against Mance and our own JTE in the booth. And the winner of that show will take on Dan in a mano-a-mano, one-on-one
Fight
for the belt. So you guys are not going to miss that. It's coming
So just so I get this right now, John has been given 2 free chances for the belt.
Yep.
Hey, look, he rides his horse over here from the valley, okay? It's
a long ride.
It's a tough trek for an equine.
Well, apparently, there we go. We'll see if he. What do you think, Dan? Out of those 3, who do you think will win?
Ooh, I mean, I think that Mike Carlson has the experience with the game. He's got the humor element. I think that Coy has the speed, and I think that John Roca will be there.
As long as Roca isn't
Shade.
consumed by his own desire,
we'll find out.
He's a powder keg of emotion.
Oh my goodness,
I think he'll
it's
do well
intense.
though.
Well, tune in next week to find out what happens. In the meanwhile, let's get this cage match started.
It's fight night! Not the beast! A, B, C, D. They're plastic! Guys, they're plastic! Learn how to get burned! Good call, baby doll. Okay, let's run.
Wow! Congrats, Harry Lee, for editing that amazing montage. That was beautiful. Thank you, Harry. How great was that? It was
Best thing
great.
I've ever
Love
seen,
seeing
yeah.
it.
Oh, it was awesome.
He brought a tear to my soul.
I love it.
changed
Harry, you're
woman.
the best. Thank you for doing that.
I'm a changed
It got
woman.
me ready for this match.
it's
The
amazing
cage
moment.
match, it begins round 1. What performance best defines the essence of Nicolas Cage? Now, this could be a semantics thing, but it's not. This is technically best Nicolas Cage movie. That's what we're asking here. What movie really defines the essence of Nicolas Cage? John, you're first.
Okay, just to clarify, this is the best Nicolas Cage movie, not the most over-the-top performance.
This
Okay.
is best defines the essence of Nicolas Cage. We're not getting lost in semantics.
Okay.
Summary. What do we think of when we think Nicolas Cage?
Okay.
What movie do we
I'm
want to
ready.
do? You can change your answer right now. No.
No, I was just making sure. I was
arguments.
making sure. Okay, I'm gonna go with the best movie that defines Nicolas Cage. Just to make sure, one more time. This was the one. I'm just making
There's
sure.
an email,
Yes.
Flick. There's an email
Okay,
sent.
it's the number one
Oh,
question.
I see. Yes, because
Yes.
that's yes.
Okay, it's this one.
No, we're doing this one.
I can tell you your arguments because it's
Yeah.
a great choice.
Yeah, it was both of them work either way.
that's
but
right. You're
okay,
right.
I'm
Was
gonna
it sent to your CompuServe
No,
account?
there's also best performance, which is next.
go, okay, all right.
There's best performance coming up, but this is what's the performance that
Yes.
defines the essence of Nick Cage?
Essence of Nicolas Cage. Twitching, smoking crack. These are the things that define Nicolas Cage. And the movie Bad Lieutenant Porter Cole of New Orleans is the movie that most defines Nicolas Cage. Even the director himself let Nicolas Cage go off the rails. He said, you can do whatever you want. There's no script that's going to hold you down. Do what you want, Nicolas Cage. And what did he do? There's 10 minutes of screen time dedicated to him looking at an iguana. Phenomenal. He hangs out with Exhibit, smokes crack, watches a guy breakdance on the floor, gets a BJ as the girl's boyfriend looks on, and he's just the most corrupt cop you've ever seen on screen. And not only that, this film has substance. It's not just 5 minutes of funny Nicolas Cage scenes where they're going to take the clips and put them on YouTube. There is substance in this movie and a story and a character that you buy into. And Nicolas Cage was the only guy who could pull some of the things off that happened in this movie. And also, there's one scene, which in my opinion is one of the best scenes ever put on the film.
You brought. I think we brought a clip, right? Each of you have a clip
Yes.
to help convey your moment.
This is one of many scenes, but yeah, let's watch the clip.
You owe me $15,000. I'll take 25% of the dope uncut.
That means you get my price.
That's one way of looking at it. The other is you get to keep 75% and not go to prison for the rest of your life.
Wow.
And in the words of Nick Cage himself, that is his lucky crack pipe. There's also a scene beyond that. There's a scene in this movie where Nicolas Cage takes an old lady's oxygen tube and squeezes it until he gets the answers that he wants. I bought into it, and you know what? I didn't think of him as a villain when he did that. I understood his reasoning. It's Nicolas Cage. He made me believe in him.
I've done that.
All right.
I've done that.
Good start. Great clip. Charlie, which one are you picking?
I'd like to start with a clip, if I may.
Okay.
I'd like to start with Nicolas Cage and Vampire's Kiss. This is the clip. Eventually.
Somebody misfiles something. What could be easier? It's all alphabetical. You just put it in the right file, according to alphabetical order. You know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Huh? That's all you have to do.
Very good. You know your alphabet.
I never misspelled anything.
Wow.
Anyway, so you want the primordial ooze from whence Nick Cage, as we know it, was spawned from. It is Vampire's Kiss. He is left to his own devices through most of the film. For those out there who've never seen Vampire's Kiss, this is the semblance of a plot that exists. Nicolas Cage, as a lit agent, Peter Lowe, believes he has been bit by a vampire and is slowly becoming a vampire. That's it. That's it. He's just going off the rails, slowly but surely, into madness. And that's the only thing we have going for it. We don't have a plot. We just have his performance. It's Nick Cage doing Nick Cage to the nth degree Nick Cage. We have a scene where he believes that he should have vampire teeth at some point. He doesn't. He buys plastic vampire teeth, puts it in his mouth, tries to bite people, goes around New York going, I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! It's him left to his own devices in such a wonderful way that he was able to create this expressionistic performance that created all the performances since then. It is actually one of his favorite performances he's ever did, and he ate a cockroach. He was so excited about being this off-the-wall character that he committed and ate a cockroach. This is the movie that spawned memes that you don't say. It's him up on a table screaming at women, saying that they haven't filed things correctly, tormenting Alva, tormenting Flashdance Jennifer Beals. It is a performance that is such a tour de force in nut job that no film stands next to it.
All right, you know your alphabet. Mark.
Andy, Nicolas Cage is such an American treasure. I'm surprised he didn't try to steal himself in one of the National Treasure movies. You know, to get the true essence of Nick Cage, you have to look beyond just the cartoony, over-the-topness of a Vampire's Kiss or a Bad Lieutenant. You have to look at the fact that this guy is an Academy Award-level actor, and I'm taking a performance that encapsulates all of the greatness that is Nick Cage's over-the-top craziness, his acting chops, his action ability, and that would be The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Roll the clip, JTE.
I have been searching a very long time. Magically, here you are. That ring on your finger means something, Dave. It means you're going to be a very important sorcerer one day.
No, he's not anybody we trust around a child, but we let this kid be babysat by Nick Cage because he's got an earnestness, he's got a touching quality about him that allows us to still believe in Nick Cage after all of these years. Yes, he gets to be a sorcerer and cast crazy spells and do all sorts of magic, so you get your crazy era Nicolas Cage. You also get action movie Nicolas Cage because he has to battle demons and protect this young wizard. You also get that dramatic ability that we saw holding a statue once upon a time. Nicolas Cage is a trifecta of greatness, and The Sorcerer's Apprentice is a great encapsulation of all those eras of Mr. Cage.
A trifecta of
a trifecta of greatness.
Of greatness. Okay, I gotta get that line down. All right, guys, fight it out.
I've just met you, but how dare you choose The Sorcerer's Apprentice? Out of all the Nick Cage movies, you could have gone Wicker Man, you could have gone Raising Arizona, you could have gone Bringing Out the Dead, and you chose Sorcerer's Apprentice, where he's basically cashing in a paycheck for the mouse. It is a soulless, dead-in-the-eye performance. He is sleeping through this performance.
But the primordial ooze you mentioned of the Vampire's Kiss is why Nicolas Cage, I don't want Zygote-era Nicolas Cage, and I don't want Redbox-era Nicolas Cage. The Sorcerer's Apprentice got an actual theatrical release, and it actually made money at the box office as opposed to Bad Lieutenant, which is still sitting in a bargain bin DVD somewhere, and no one's ever heard of Vampire's Kiss because no director was reining him in on that movie. If you just let Nicolas Cage fly to the moon, he's going to do it. You need a story to keep him grounded in order order to have action go from one scene to the next.
Sorry to overlap, but the specific question was the best, most Nick Cagean performance.
You get the essence of Nicolas Cage.
And that's not box office,
and every
that's
era
not,
of
not
Nicolas
seen.
Cage.
Listen, Nicolas Cage is a beautiful butterfly. And in order to let him fly, you need to put him in a movie that's not PG-13 like The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which was an abomination against mankind. And speaking of making money, it did not make money. It was a box office bomb.
And
it flopped.
It did not do well, but it made more money than Bad Lieutenant or Vampire's Kiss
Who
put
cares
together.
about money? It's about performance.
Because people flocked to go see the essence of Nicolas Cage, and nobody even knew they were making a sequel to Bad Lieutenant, and nobody knew what The Vampire's Kiss was.
But critically rated, Bad Lieutenant is a superior film, and it actually has substance. It's a story that people remember, and it's also a movie that lends
Nobody's
itself.
heard of it in the first place.
It's a
That
movie.
is absolutely incorrect, just because you haven't heard of it.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Oh, it's a movie that lends itself to allow Nick Cage to do what he does best in a rated R, NC-17 environment where he can smoke crack and almost kill old women. That's what I want to see when it comes to Nick Cage. He's freaking out. He's twitching. He's a corrupt cop. Nicolas Cage with one of the worst hair pieces he's ever worn, and that says something about Nicolas Cage.
Statement.
That says something. It looks like a wet mop that someone glued to his head. That Sorcerer's Apprentice is bland. It's tiresome. No one remembers one line Nick Cage gives that entire film. Not one. I can't remember anything that stands out to me.
We're not talking about the quality of the movie, though. We're talking about the essence of Nicolas. Are you guys a couple? As far as the essence
we're only
of
a couple in
Nicolas
this so much that
Cage.
we made the right decision. There are only
Because
two
The
answers
Sorcerer's
that are
Apprentice
correct.
is a movie that people actually remember. You can't have the essence of Nicolas Cage be defined by a film that nobody saw or nobody remembers.
I bet you people don't remember he was in Sorcerer's Apprentice.
You say Sorcerer's
That movie
Apprentice,
was
you
in and
get,
out.
oh yeah, we got all the greatness of Nick Cage. He's
Give
crazy.
me some more. What was the great moments in Sorcerer's Apprentice?
The great moments in Sorcerer's
Yes.
Apprentice is towards the end when he sacrifices himself in order to save his younger wizard apprentice to allow him to fly. So there's actual acting in there. That's not mailing it in. He gets to get in a costume. Nicolas Cage embracing being in a different world, in a different place, a different time, snorting damn near dinosaur dust. He gets to be nuts, but he also gets to be a real character, as opposed to caricatures, Andy, which is these two people making fun of Nicolas Cage. I'm not here to make fun of Nicolas Cage. I'm here to celebrate the greatness of an underrated actor who occasionally can be a nutjob.
I appreciate your enthusiasm for it, but no amount of you raising your voice is making that performance any more energetic or interesting.
Energetic
or less
does
dead
not
around the
necessarily
eyes.
mean a good performance.
So
You can be understated.
When you talk about Vampire's Kiss, you're seeing all of the flavors of why we love Nick Cage and exactly why he's perfect in movies like that. He elevates that movie because we know he's going to do something crazy. We know he's going to do something crazy because of Vampire's Kiss, because we've seen him go to the nth degree. We've seen him go this expressionistic, bizarre gonzo performance, and that's what made him Nick Cage. We know him to be this way because of Vampire's Kiss, because he is out of his mind. He changes accents mid-film. No one has ever made that accent before, and no one will since. No one could have done Vampire's Kiss except for Nicolas Cage, because it is pure him. He
What do you
found
say to
the
this
demon
sort of
within inside
their
him.
caricatures? What do you guys? How do you probably
When it comes to Vampire's Kiss, the best thing about that film is you can take 6 minutes of Nicolas Cage and you can put it on a funny reel on YouTube, and that's what you have from that movie. No one remembers anything in between, and he has a few funny scenes. In Sorcerer's Apprentice, he essentially plays a coked-out version of Merlin the Wizard with Jay Baruchel, and no one wants to watch it. I honestly, as far as essence goes, I don't remember one key moment or one scene with Nicolas Cage in that film I'm going to remember 6 seconds after the movie. With Bad Lieutenant, this is a story where he has depth. He goes up and down. He's an anti-hero in a lot of ways, but also he's a coked-out, crooked cop. There's a different dynamic there. And as far as essence goes, the crazy, outlandish things that he does in my movie compared to your movie is it makes sense to the script and the story. It goes along with what's happening. In your movie, he's doing bizarre shit just for the sake of doing bizarre shit. And it's funny, but as far as essence goes, with quality or substance, it doesn't tie into anything else in the movie.
But the essence of the movie is his descent into madness. So how do you show the descent into madness? You show him doing things that no man could possibly do unless they were going crazy. And as far as you talk about having a highlight reel, the entire movie is him. There's very few scenes that do not have him. So it couldn't possibly be a highlight reel. Highlight reel is the entirety of the movie. Bad Lieutenant is Werner Herzog's vision as well as Nick Cage's vision. It is both of their craziness coming together in this amazing, fantastic, hilarious way, but it's still Nick Cage restrained. When I want Nick Cage, I want him to be out there. I want him to be bizarre, and it's not a characterization. It's not a It's not a cartoon. It is essential to him as a Nick Cage performance. If you want to go essence of Nick Cage, that's how you do it.
Andy, I'm sensing a paradox because while I argue and I get louder and louder and that somehow shouldn't count as much, yet the only time you want the essence of Nicolas Cage to count is when he gets louder and louder and crazier. This
He's not arguing on
man
movie
is a
fights, you are.
Lamborghini, and the Lamborghini is more than just about going fast. It's about the way you can brake quickly, you can handle the turn, you can go on a city road, you can go on a long country drive. Nicolas Cage shows he can do everything with range in The Sorcerer's Apprentice, as opposed to be in a film that the Bad Lieutenant is a better movie than Sorcerer's Apprentice. Vampire's Kiss may be a better movie than Sorcerer's Apprentice, but Nicolas Cage's performance is more layered in that, and he gets to showcase more of his Cage-isms than just one phase.
Name a quote. Name a quote from Sorcerer's Apprentice.
I'm your sorcerer. I don't know. I bet he says that in the movie. I bet he says
You
that
all
in the
got
movie.
to make some equal time there. Let's go to Dan and the Cage man himself.
Yes.
Nicholas, what do you think? May I call you Nicola? Nick?
You can call me whatever you want. Just
Okay.
Sir Nick.
Sir Nick, what do
Sir
you?
Nick.
Any thoughts on these performances? Or
I definitely agree with Vampire's Kiss.
all right,
We got
Dan.
his, yeah, we got the word. That's Nick Cage's opinion.
I know I acted in Sorcerer's Apprentice, but I've never actually seen it. I don't remember anything. I was very dangerously high. It's like that guy could die any second. But damn it, is he a good
All
sorcerer?
right, alleged Nick Cage. Thank you. Go
Well,
ahead.
no matter which one of these wins, the essence of Nick Cage is that the movie's a flop because Vampire's Kiss was made for $2 million, grossed $725,000. Bad Lieutenant was made for $25 million, grossed $1.7 million, and Sorcerer's Apprentice was made for $150 million and grossed $63 million. So
That's just domestic.
that's just domestic. That's true.
$1 million for iguanas alone.
Charlie is right that he did eat a cockroach for Vampire's Kiss. He also snorted baby powder to stoop for cocaine in Bad Lieutenant. And the people on Twitter, everyone has a different answer. Tim Butner says best Nick Cage movie is Raising Arizona, which doubles as a great Coen Brothers movie. Anthony Hernandez says it's got to be Castor Troy. That one's just bonkers. And Yeshaya Alex Brill says none of these three choices should win or even be top three. Hashtag Con Air, hashtag Drive Angry, hashtag Ghostwriter.
I thought they were going to say the Crudes.
And the Crudes, yeah. I didn't see that one pop up.
No, it's just.
And
the
I
Crudes.
also have the viewer poll, which is pretty close right now. So.
All right. Well, look, I think Mark, you gave a very good argument, but I do think that gosh, you picked a weird movie that even you had trouble remembering parts of.
Oh, I haven't seen it in some time.
Oh, not at all. I got really excited.
But close though. With a movie you haven't seen, you really showed the passion. So valiant effort, but it did come down between Charlie and John on that one. I think I got a little bit more at Charlie describing what the essence of what we want with Cage more. His descent to madness, what we want him over the top, all that stuff. We want him out there. You said it's a highlight reel, but it's sort of what we want. So I think Charlie got that back to you, even though it was close, John. I got to give it to Charlie for the first point. Vampire's Kiss does define the essence of Nicolas Cage.
I gotta see that movie.
I hope we get people to watch the movie. If
It's a
nothing
crazy
else on this
bonkers
fight.
Strangely enough,
I didn't think he was going full alphabet.
41%
I thought he was gonna end.
of the fan poll voted for The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
It's the only one they've probably seen.
It's the newest one.
Yeah.
Don't vote for the new ones. Vote on
It's
the
really
hit,
a bad
based
movie.
on the argument.
National Treasure might have been a better choice.
But that's not the essence of Cage. That's action movie Cage. Sorcerer's Apprentice
he
is a
did feel like he was
combination.
phoning
It's
in
a
for the
Neapolitan
paycheck
ice
for
cream.
the mouse. It's like, hey, I need another National Treasure, but we don't have one. Can you do this one instead? Okay. But anyway, that was a good point, Charlie. All right, this one comes in from Scott Lang. Question 2. Seriously.
Ant-Man?
What?
Ant-Man?
Yeah, Ant-Man.
Scott.
Scott Lang, Ant-Man. This one comes in seriously now. What is Nick Cage's best performance? Because we did, he is over the top. Do you call it over the top, Nick, sir?
No, it's operatic. Okay, I never go over the top. I'm always in control of everything I do.
I love that. No disrespect to you, sir. We love your work. Even the operatic is impressive. But let's go. What's the best performance, period? He has won an Oscar. He's done a lot of really great roles. So let's hear what we got. Charlie, you're up first. What is the best Nicolas Cage performance?
So to me, the best sort of Nick Cage performance does still have elements of caginess, but it's still an acting performance. It's still something that you look at it and you're like, yes, I believe there's an actor behind all of the coke eye. So I chose something that I really truly believe wasn't just a throwing him an Oscar. I think truly Leaving Las Vegas, his performance as L. Ben Sanderson, is the best he's ever given cinema. He took 2 weeks, went on a bender, had his friend film him just to find out what kind of drunk he was, how he slurs, how he could get into this character of, and again, we go from literary agent to a screenwriter who has lost everything. His wife's divorced him, he's lost his kid, he is ready to die. He goes out to the desert, he goes to Vegas with the intention to drink his life away. And he is persistent at that. But you would think it would be a bleak movie, and it's not. It's funny, it's charming. You understand why Elizabeth Shue's hooker with a heart of gold would go for this sort of person, even though he's at the edge of his he's at end of his rope. You understand why she would see him as her sort of savior throughout her descent into sadness and bleakness, because there is this charm. There is this behind his eyes, you can see that there is promise, and his performance is a nuanced portrayal of hitting rock bottom and having it consume you, body and soul. It's a performance of physicality, of humor, of depth, and it is devastating. And that's why I truly believe it's the best work he's ever done on screen.
Mark.
You know, Andy, whether you're talking about acting or athletics or anything else, sometimes the greatest performance is the one you're not expecting. When you say, this guy's he's past his prime, he's never going to win another championship. If you're talking about Tim Duncan a few years ago, or you're talking about some guy popping a Viagra and throwing a football through a rusty tire one more time. Nicolas Cage did that in Joe. Joe is a movie that came out of nowhere that you're like, it's just another movie he's doing for the paycheck in the long list of direct-to-DVD movies. And it comes out, and it didn't do that well financially, but critics said, you know what, this is the guy that we thought we were getting when we saw movies like Leaving Las Vegas. This guy is finally banking on the promise, and I saw that movie, and at the time, myself and a lot of other critics agree, this could be the start of the Nicolas Cage renaissance in the same way that Matthew McConaughey was able to revitalize his career, starting with a movie that not a lot of people saw, The Lincoln Lawyer. Now, the reason why Joe is such a great performance by Nicolas Cage is because he's able to take his ability to go crazy, but he doesn't do it in his outlandish operatic performances. It's all in the eyes. There's not a lot of big movements by Cage. It's all with his facial twitches, the way that he's looking at this character who he takes in, Ty Sheridan, who's being abused by his father. He gives him a job. His job in life is to poison trees to clear way for more construction. Now, what that acts as is a metaphor for Joe's own life, and it's a heartbreaking end to the movie because, like a lot of Nicolas Cage's greatest roles, he ends up having to sacrifice his own self, whether it's physically in death or whether it's metaphorically in giving up in order to save somebody else. It's one of the most nuanced performances you'll see in the aughts, and it's a great, underrated movie.
All right. Flick, pick, you're up.
All right, I'm going to go with Matchstick Men. This is a film that allows Nicolas Cage to really focus his attributes on what he does best, and also it puts it into a story where you care about what's happening. He has a daughter in this film. It's a father-daughter movie. It's heartwarming. He's also a con man, and he's twitchy. There's several scenes where you get that freak-out Nicolas Cage moment, but then the movie focuses and settles down, and you get this heartwarming story about, at the core of it, it is a father and daughter, and you care about the dynamic of what's happening in there. And along the way, it's also directed by Ridley Scott, phenomenal director. The visuals, the script of this movie, spot on. And also, like my movie, there's a lot of rewatchability here. It's not a one-watch movie. You want to go back and revisit it. You always find new things about this film. And the little nuances about Nicolas Cage's performance in this movie, like I said, he doesn't just freak out. He's not just typical Nick Cage. And he's not trying to do something that he doesn't quite fit into. He's doing everything that he's great at, but he's focusing on a quality character, and you care about the entire relationship that he has with his daughter in the film. Matchstick Men.
Matchstick Men, Leaving Las Vegas. Joe, let's fight it out, guys.
So Matchstick Men, I don't feel like his performance worked for me. The sort of, he has Tourette's, he has OCD, and he's very like twitchy and flicky, and it always felt put upon. I saw the acting. I saw the lines of the acting. I saw him put on a performance instead of living in the character. Whereas with Joe, I did not, and Leaving Las Vegas, I did not. With Leaving Las Vegas, he embodied.
Did you see Joe?
I did.
It's good.
You made me see it, and I appreciate that.
That's okay.
But with Leaving Las Vegas, it's at the height of what I think Nick Cage can do. He can give you, so they always say dying is easy, comedy is hard. And with Leaving Las Vegas, he is legitimately funny, both in how he delivers lines, in his physicality, but he's also devastating. It's a sad movie. It's the embodiment of, you see where alcoholics go, where the possibilities of their loss, their rock bottom. And with Matchstick Men, I love the script. I love Ridley Scott's direction. I love Sam Rockwell. I love all the other performances. But for Nick Cage, he felt false to me.
These are two really good movies, and I think my problem with Matchstick Men is that Sam Rockwell is better than Nicolas Cage in that movie. I don't think Nicolas Cage is the best performance in his own film. And with Leaving Las Vegas, it's certain there's a reason why Nick Cage won the Oscar for that movie. But he's acting against Elizabeth Shue, and they are such a great chemistry pair. But I think a lot of that is what Elizabeth Shue is bringing to the table. As far as Joe, Nick Cage, yes, he's acting with Ty Sheridan, and he's helping him usher him along. But most of the greatness about Joe and that performance in there that I think was criminally overlooked when it came award season is that Nicolas Cage is acting against his greatest acting partner ever, himself. He is just wrestling with his own demons, Andy, and you get to see that even more so than in Leaving Las Vegas, where this is a guy who's trying to slowly poison himself with alcohol. Here, you get to more visually have a representation just in his eyes as to what this man is going through. And the best reason why it's Nicolas Cage's most prized performance is because you can watch it through the prism of this character, Joe. You can also look at it through Nicolas Cage reflecting on his own career and where that might have gone if he didn't get so horrifically in debt buying dinosaurs that he could have been this different path. It's almost like you're seeing Joe go through his own life. You're also seeing Nicolas Cage replay these great moments of his career, like The Rock and Con Air, and seeing where that went into knowing in The Wicker Man, and seeing, you know what, I still have this ability to act, and I'm going to do it. I don't know if that's the last time we get great Academy Award level Nicolas Cage, but if it is, he went out on top with Joe.
I'm going to agree with Ellis and say Elizabeth Shue did prop up Nicolas Cage in Leaving Las Vegas.
Physically, because he kept falling over as a
Physically,
drunk.
but as far as Nicolas Cage playing a drunk, is that really a stretch? He's played an alcoholic, a cokehead. He's played everything in every movie, and they just so happen to write a script that catered to Nicolas Cage.
So much
A
more
broken
than
clock
that.
is right twice a day, and that's what Leaving Las Vegas got lucky. Got lucky with the script and the role. I wouldn't say it's his best role by any means. Elizabeth Shue outshined him in that movie. I cared more about her than I did Nicolas Cage in that film.
She's great in Adventures in Babysitting. I love her.
As far as Joe goes, it does belong in the $5 DVD bin at Walmart. I understand
Certainly,
that he was giving a subtle performance. He really was. He was playing a safe performance, but at the same time, I don't think it was his best performance by any means. He didn't go out on a limb. He played a very safe, secure performance, and he almost took what he used to be and it made it into a former shadow of himself in Joe, and it's very bland. It's not a very great movie. And as far as my movie goes, Matchstick Men, there's a heart there with my movie. You get the best Nicolas Cage.
And it's Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell's
Yes.
the heart. That movie started taking...
And Alison Lohman.
It started taking Nicolas Cage on a downward spiral, Ridley Scott on a downward spiral. Joe, he's already bottomed down, and he's giving one last shot at glory. With Matchstick Men, it's a movie that came out, and people were like, oh, this is going to be good, and it wasn't. It was a disappointment. And as far as the $5 DVD bin, every movie we talk about on this show is going to be available for $5 somewhere.
Everything
Okay, but
false.
Joe,
It was critically acclaimed. People liked it. And also Sam Rockwell, yeah, great supporting character, but Nicolas Cage outshines him. There's multiple scenes where he goes to the pharmacy, freaks out, and then you go back to another scene with him and his daughter, and you're like, oh, I care about what's happening in this movie. He's a con man, he's a selfish con man, but at the same time, by the end of the movie, he has a character arc where he completely changes how he was in the beginning of the movie. He's a different person by the end of the movie than he was in the beginning of the movie.
But I feel anyone could have played that part. It didn't feel
Name
like
one person who could have played that part.
John Cusack could have played that part. Easily could have played that part.
I think John
He was too
Travolta
busy
could have
doing
played
Room
that part.
1308.
It doesn't feel like an authentic, this is Nick Cage's height of
But
performance.
and that's an
you're
arc that we've seen from Nicolas Cage so many times too.
Yes.
It's like the Family Man thing. It's like, oh, now he's completely changed and everybody's better. The greatness about Joe is that this guy realizes, and as an audience member, we go along for this emotional heartache, that he realizes he can change who he is to a certain extent, but he can never get out of his own skin
But I
fully,
think
and that's
the
the
mistake is
tragedy of the
believing-
movie.
I think
Let's
the
go through
mistake
final
is-
thoughts. Go ahead, Charlie.
I think the mistake is believing that a restrained performance, even though this is Nick Cage, the restraining is quite an ordeal, is a good performance. And with Joe, I do feel it is too subtle. It's not the Nick Cage we want to see. I think that Leaving Las Vegas is his performance of a lifetime because it gives you all the elements you want to see from a Nick Cage movie. You do get the outlandishness, but it's towards a purpose. It's towards the plot of the movie. But you also get these quiet moments. You see the devastation behind his eyes, the thought of his wife leaving him, the thought of this woman taking him in and feeling like he can never give it back to her because he's on his way towards death. And knowing she's an angel trying to help him out and knowing that he cannot do anything for her. Elizabeth Shue is wonderful. There's a reason she didn't win the award, and he did. He carries the movie. It is horrifyingly depressing, but also hilarious and wonderful, and it's why he won the Oscar and why he should win this fight.
I think the reason why Nicolas Cage is good in Leaving Las Vegas is a lot of it has to do with Elizabeth Shue being able to partner up with him, as opposed to Joe, where Joe is not just a performance based on subtlety. There's moments in that movie of sheer violence. Joe is a violent man with a violent background, and just because they're not showing us every action scene that he's been involved in his life, there's a bar scene that is frightening in that movie because you see the quick rise to anger he has, and the audience doesn't need it spelled out for him that this is another instance where this guy's getting into trouble because he's too violent. We get to see a glimpse of it, and that's enough because we get to see the rest of a very nuanced, subtle performance, one that people did not know Nicolas Cage still had in him. That's the movie I point to. If Nicolas Cage ever goes on a career resurgence, it's going to be because he was able to do Joe, and people are like, look, the movie didn't do well. It's available in most bargain bins. When you watch that performance, you say, that guy still has greatness in him.
John?
When people don't watch a good Nicolas Cage movie, I don't know anyone who wants to watch Leaving Las Vegas for a great Nicolas Cage performance. It's a good script, but as far as Nicolas Cage's performance goes, yeah, forgettable. Joe is one of those movies where you have Nicolas Cage, but anyone could have played Joe in that film, or anyone could have played the character of Joe in that film. Nicolas Cage didn't bring anything that he was great at into that film, and he just shoehorned it in there, and that's why it went straight to DVD. He did it for another paycheck. It was the latest trend in his DVD movies.
It had a theatrical release.
In one theater in Boise, Idaho. And as far as Matchstick Men goes, you know, it had the best director out of all three, Ridley Scott, in my opinion. And also, once again, he has layers. My character is a con man who plays multiple characters throughout this entire movie, and he has the biggest story arc throughout the entire film. By the end of the movie, he truly is a different person. He learned a lesson, and it was a lesson that was a tough one at that to learn, but there's a heartfelt relationship there, and it kind of leaves you with a little, you almost feel like a little bit of a lump in your throat by the end of the movie, but the message you take away, you figure out. Matchstick Men.
If I may, real quick, I think watching a character learn a lesson is not as intriguing always as watching a character know there's a lesson to be learned and he's just not able to make himself do it.
That was more than a second.
Yeah.
I will only hear the first second.
I just flew in from Boise, Idaho, from the Joe Festival we do every year.
All right, Mr. Cage and Dan Murrow, let's hear from you guys.
I'd have to go with the Croods on this one. It was one of my bigger paychecks recently. All I had to do was say "ugh" into the microphone several times.
Do you remember making Joe?
Kind of, yes. Yes, I was in the woods, I think.
All right.
That is correct.
Woods were involved.
Yeah.
All right.
And a beard?
Yeah.
I had a beard, which I still have.
Do you remember the 2-week bender you did for Leaving Las Vegas research?
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to see those videos.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
They're floating around the I think Vimeo.
I mean, but he brought it in. Sorry, no, that's an argument. I'm sorry.
Dan, what do you got?
Joe was directed by David Gordon Green, who you might know from Pineapple Express and Eastbound and Down. It was released in 48 theaters, and it came in 31st place the week that it opened. It was the second weekend of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So,
really good.
Stiff
Fighting
competition.
31st.
More people should have seen Joe.
You can get all 3 movies for under $10 on Amazon. I checked.
Yes!
And a lot of people, as you can imagine, on Twitter, Chewbacca Defense says the correct answer is adaptation, but I'd argue for Lord of War. Tim Butner says it's Moonstruck. Hamza Juicer says no one picked adaptation. Wow. Ryan Diesling, Cage did something really unexpected and amazing with Big Daddy and Kick-Ass. And Nolan Dean also agrees. The Kick-Ass is a runner for this round because Big Daddy is pretty much the best part of that film.
No mentions of the Croods.
No one mentioned the Crude, but you are the expert.
Well, that's my perspective.
There's a sequel to the Croods.
Yeah, Croods 2. You don't remember that one? That was even more recent.
I said "ugh" more times than that one.
Doubled ugh. All right, this one is rough. It did come down to me between Leaving Las Vegas and Joe. I think John you just got a little hung up on the. I mean, you did call Leaving Las Vegas kind of mad. I don't agree. I don't know. I didn't hear enough of why.
I can't agree with her points, Andy.
Yeah, but I didn't know
it's a
why.
debate show.
And you didn't get focused on the director. And you said yours was the only one that was layered, but I would disagree. I think they all did a very good argument of why they were layered. So it came down to Charlie and Mark. I've seen Leaving Las Vegas a while ago, and I haven't seen Joe. So this is really based on the arguments. And I heard you were the first to bring up the Sam Rockwell defense against his, which was a good point. You brought in the research, though. That was also helpful. But yeah, I didn't. You said your argument against Mark was that Joe was too subtle, whereas yours is all the elements. But I don't know if we're not talking Cage now. We're talking best performance, and the fact that you were also sort of able to say Elizabeth Shue really helps him a lot do that performance. It's a little unfair because it's still a performance he's giving, but I didn't have that much to go with. I was sold on wanting to watch Joe and your defense of it, so I got to give Joe the point. Mark gets it.
Chris Parker, America's favorite babysitter. I love adventures in babysitting, Andy.
The Twitter poll was, unless it has changed, a runaway 53% voting for leaving Las Vegas. Joe and Matchstick Men currently tied. So
it was very close though, Charlie. That was good. You're tied with Mark. Here we go. Question 3. Let's go silly now, okay? Let's go back to being silly. What movie would be most improved by replacing the hero and the villain with Nicolas Cage in a dual role, a la adaptation? Mark, what are you picking us?
We're going big, Andy. We're going a movie that got a lot of people talking about feelings, taking one side, taking the other side. That's right, DC fans. We are going to remake Batman v Superman. We're going to make it better, courtesy of Nicolas Cage, who is not going to be playing Superman, although he was Superman and Superman, very briefly, Superman Lives. That movie didn't happen. This movie should happen because he is going to be a great Bruce Wayne / Batman, and he's also going to be a great Lex Luthor because Lex Luthor gives him the chance. First of all, with his hair plugs, he can either go with the hair Lex Luthor like Jesse Eisenberg did, he can just shave it, and that's a great entry into his later work, a la Bruce Willis, where it's like, shit, I'm running out of hair, I better shave it for a role so the kids think I'm just doing this on purpose. And then when we go to him playing Batman / Bruce Wayne, who better to play a tortured soul who wants to fight crime but also is going through so many personal demons than Nicolas Cage? You see it in every performance he gives. He's capable of great action like we've seen in The Rock and Con Air. He's also capable of great personal hurt in his performances like all the movies we just talked about, particularly Leaving Las Vegas and Joe. So you take that broken soul and you put him into Batman v Superman, where now he's got to go against Superman, and it's just icing on the cake that he's going against the former role that he used to have. So it's going to be like a Michael Keaton in Birdman situation where he's actually looking against the role that he used to have, and he's going to get it, he's going to top it, he's going to beat Lex Luthor, and he's going to beat Superman because it's Batman v Superman. And with Nicolas Cage being Batman, he's definitely getting the W.
Is Henry Cavill still Superman?
Henry Cavill can be Superman.
Okay. John.
I'm going to go with The Matrix. I wanted to see Nicolas Cage as Neo and Mr. Smith. Yes. Could you just close your eyes for a moment and imagine this? Mr. Anderson. Like, could you imagine that? And could you imagine him as Neo going, whoa? I could imagine both things.
Wait, let's hear it. Do you mind, Mr. Cage?
Mr. Anderson. Whoa.
All right.
There it is.
You throw pretty great.
You throw Morpheus in there, you have a movie. You can truly see Nicolas Cage taking on either performance in these movies. He would add more charisma than than either character actually did. You had
Hugo Weaving.
You had Hugo Weaving.
Keanu
Reeves, yes. Thank you for both those things. And they both kind of had flat performances in those movies. Nicolas Cage would spice it up. He'd add more of a character to both of them. He'd add more substance to both of them. I'd love to see it go down. And could you just imagine the scene where Nicolas Cage, has a fight with himself with bullet time action sequences. His face is on both of these characters. That would be the best thing that ever happened in cinema.
Do we see 1,000 Smith Cages as well?
In the sequel, you do, Andy. Don't get ahead of yourself. We're still in the first movie here.
All right, it's true. We can only pick one.
My pick's going to be Nick Cage. And
Charlie, what are you
Matrix.
doing?
So, similar thought only in the Wachowskis, but I thought when I look at this question, what movie would be improved? Not a movie that is already great or a movie that can't be improved. I chose Jupiter Ascending because I believe that Nicolas Cage, not the Mila Kunis character, although he would look fetching in that tank top, I think he could do the Channing Tatum character of being a space puppy there to protect Mila Kunis' princess. And also, when we look at Eddie Redmayne doing the whisper voice, the very loud voice, he's essentially doing a Nick Cage impression already. Wouldn't it be better if it was actually Nick Cage doing the role? A lot of people do love Jupiter Ascending. I feel like it was a movie that could have been better, that there are elements that really could have pushed it into being a well-done sci-fi movie. And frankly, Nick Cage has not been in enough sci-fi movies, is what I discovered from his IMDb. This could have been the one. He could have taken both characters. You could have loved him for being the caring compatriot on the road trip through space with Mila Kunis, and the absolutely gonzo whisper monster that is the Eddie Redmayne character. Jupiter Ascending would have been so much better with his inclusion.
All right, guys, fight it out.
I think the reason why Batman v Superman is the best movie for him is because it's the one that's most polarizing to fans, is that they just didn't get what they want. So let's have some fun with this, as opposed to Jupiter Ascending, which I think people would rather just bury than ever bring up again. We need a good Batman, Andy. We need somebody who's unexpected. A lot like when Michael Keaton was cast as Batman, people started, but wait, that's the guy? The guy who's coming from a comedic background, but who's able to bring a tortured darkness to it. Nicolas Cage can do the same thing. And then with Lex Luthor, that's when he gets to have all the fun. That's when he gets to be the crazy, the essence of Nick Cage that we're talking about, because he can be this crazy tech magnate. He can go off the rails talking about all this great technology he wants to do, what he wants to do, how he's going to create Doomsday. All of these elements have Nicolas Cage written all over them. And if I can borrow Mr. Cage one more time, if you can quote the quintessential line, the one thing I hated most about Batman v Superman is when the Martha thing happens. But I would have bought it if it was Nicolas Cage saying, "Why'd you say that name?
Why did you say that name? Martha is also my mother's name."
See,
People
you buy
would
it.
be furious if he was Batman. Current Nick Cage as Batman. Maybe he could have pulled off a Lex Luthor, but people would be so pissed off they would see it as a joke. There's a reason Nick Cage is a meme. He can be any character and make it really hilarious, but can he make the movie better? He can't make Batman versus Superman better by being Batman. He would be ridiculous. And The Matrix is already fantastic. It is supposed to be a role played by Keanu Reeves because he should be kind of a Cypher character. He is this person where he is exploring his chosenness and things sort of happen to him, and he's very Zen and Buddhist and things sort of go past him. Nick Cage can't possibly do that. Nick Cage has to influence things. He's an influencer. He's an attack dog. And with Mr. Smith, similarly, he's got to be every Mr. Smith. And although that would be funny to see in the sequel, the actual first movie, I think his character, his personality would overpower it.
I think it would be a phenomenal performance. And I think he also has the weird surfer voice that he's had since the 1980s for some random reason. And I think it would work both for Neo and Mr. Anderson. Also, Mark, as far as your role goes, if you would have said him as Superman, I would have bought that. I can see that. As Batman, no, we had a phenomenal Batman. Ben Affleck was great in Batman.
He might not be playing Batman anymore. You need a guy that's going to commit to being Batman for more than one movie.
If you would have said Doomsday, I would have said, okay, I'm gonna pre-order my tickets right now. But you know, as far as Nicolas Cage as Superman, that works. As far as Nicolas Cage as Batman, there's no way. You put that cowl on there, he's still Nicolas Cage. He's zany, he's quirky, he's twitchy, he's all over the place.
That's who Bruce Wayne is. Superman is more of a one-note character. Anybody could be. That's why Henry Cavill can just be pretty much a wet blanket and still play Superman.
But
Nicolas Cage has so much going on behind the eyes. And as far as Jupiter Ascending goes, just because you picked by far the crappiest movie out of these three doesn't mean that you're allowed to say, oh, I don't want to touch the goldenness that is Batman v Superman, because Jupiter Ascending is a movie that's going to prove that Nicolas Cage, when he's in a crappy production, he gives a way over-the-top performance that does not get attention. When Nicolas Cage is in a quality production that's going to get eyeballs on it, he gives an A effort. He's not going to give an A effort in something like Jupiter Ascending or something that was an unknown property at the time, like The Matrix. If you give Nicolas Cage a role he can sink his teeth into and commit. He grew up loving comic books, Andy. He grew up worshiping these characters. He's been waiting for this role his whole life, as opposed to Jupiter Ascending, which is just another paycheck for him, or The Matrix, which is just another reason for him to go crazy.
Superman his whole life. He hasn't been waiting for Batman his whole life. He's specifically been waiting for Superman. So that is your choice to choose Batman over Superman for him to jump into.
It's a more complex character, and this era of Nicolas Cage is going to be more drawn to Bruce Wayne.
As far as Jupiter Ascending is concerned, it's something where Nicolas Cage can sink his teeth into because it doesn't have the baggage of a property. It doesn't have anything that he can't make better. He can create this character from scratch and make it the Nick Cage we want to see. Batman is not the right role for him. Not how he is now, and probably not how he is then. And with The Matrix, first of all, it's not a surfer voice. He's totally channeling Elvis with his voice. It's not. He's full Elvis all the time. And that wouldn't be Neo for me. He has too much character to be Neo. Keanu is a passive Buddhist face of great temerity. I don't know.
He was a piece of drywall and with a little bit of paint on it, and we were watching it dry. As far as Jupiter Ascending goes, you can recast anyone you want in that movie. It still goes to the movie itself, and the script of the movie was awful. It was boring. It didn't matter who was playing what. Eddie Redmayne had a Nicolas Cage performance, and it was still awful to watch. I don't want to do this.
But it would have been better with Nick Cage. He would have, the walls would have shook in space.
And Ellis, as far as Nick Cage being a huge comic book fan and loving the movies, that doesn't do anything. Look at the movies like Ghost Rider. That didn't turn out too well either. So I put no faith in Nicolas Cage playing another comic book character, especially one of the most iconic ones, one of the biggest brooding badasses of all time, Batman.
If you give him a redemptive movie like Batman v Superman, this is the movie he's been waiting for to give him a career resurgence. It's not going to be Jupiter Jupiter Ascending because people are going to see Nicolas Cage. They're going to be like, oh, it's just another crappy movie. They're going to see The Matrix. They're going to be like, there's no way he can pull off a character that young or that complex. But when you put on the age of Batman, this is a different Batman than we're used to seeing on screen. This is an older Batman. This is a Batman that has been through stuff. He is scarred emotionally. He's jaded. This is the role that Nicolas Cage may not have been right for 20 years ago. But Andy, at this point in time, in 2017, Nicolas Cage is the right guy to take on the mantle of Batman. And also Lex Luthor, one of the craziest over-the-top villains, but still has a menacing threat to it. This is everything Nicolas Cage has been waiting for his entire life, as opposed to just getting a paycheck.
Taking that as your final thoughts, John, final thoughts.
You make a good point with everything you said except for the Batman part. That's where you lose your argument. He could play Lex Luthor. He could play Doomsday. He could even play Superman. But when it comes to Batman, he could not play Batman. As far as your movie, Jupiter Ascending, it was a bad movie. It doesn't matter who you cast in each role. It's still going to be a bad movie. With my movie, The Matrix, it's a very complex film, and it almost, in a logical way, you could make it work to where Nicolas Cage is playing both roles. He could be fighting against himself in this movie, and the complexities of that in my story would actually make sense to see him as both characters.
Charlie, final thoughts.
That would change the entire point of The Matrix if he looked like the Mr. Smith characters. Whereas if you take Jupiter Ascending, he could absolutely be this space prince out in the wilderness as well as this other character, and it would still make sense. The plot would still make sense, and he would elevate it because he is ridiculous, and I think he belongs in a space opera that will hold him. And this is a movie that has the bones to hold a Nick Cage performance. Whereas Batman vs. Superman, we're not living in a vacuum. If people were to hear that, hey, we've cast Nick Cage as Batman, I think they'd be furious. Current Nick Cage. If he were put into that role, people would riot.
They were furious when Ben Affleck was cast and when Michael Keaton was cast. They get mad about stuff. They get won over by the performance.
Is this my final thought or is this your final thought?
It's yours.
It's ours.
You do have a fantastic radio voice, but this is
Thank you. This is Nicolas Cage being Batman on KPPX. We got Nicolas Cage and Traffic. Nick, how's it looking on the 5 out there?
Traffic is backed up.
Is it backed up? No, that doesn't work at all.
It's Batmaned up.
Charlie, anything else you'd like to add?
So before I was interrupted, he would not make a good Batman even in his youngest days. His heart has always been Superman, and I think he'd be a laughingstock. I think he would make too much fun out of the character to people for them to take him seriously.
All right, Dan and Mr. Cage, anything to add here?
I'm really upset that none of you brought up the fact that I was almost Superman.
I did.
Tim
We all
Burton's
did.
Superman.
We all did.
Okay. Anyway, thanks for bringing up those painful memories. I do like all three of your ideas. You got.
Which one would you do? If you
Let
could go
me-
back,
what?
would you rather be in The Matrix, Jupiter Ascending, or Batman?
Mine
Hold
pays
on.
the most.
I'm getting to it. I do like all three of your ideas. We got Wicker Man v. Weatherman. We have Moonstruck Ascending. And we have, of course, the Cage tricks. But I have to go with my own personal favorite, the live-action remake of Frozen, coming out in 2019.
Oh, you're playing Elsa and
I play Elsa and Anna. And I get to wear
Alright.
a dress.
mocap? Oh no, this is live action.
Live action, I get to wear
Alright.
2 different dresses.
I'm excited for that.
Thank
Dan,
you. So-
any actual facts you'd like to add?
No facts, just people online. Colin Murr says The Wizard of Oz with Nicolas Cage as Dorothy and the Wicked Witch of the West. Mac Poole says I'm going with Street Fighter. I want Nick Cage to play both Guile and M. Bison.
Oh, that's good.
Leanne
good
Summers says Cage, Home Alone, protecting his house from 2 Nick Cages.
Like a little CGI Nick Cage.
There you go, little CGI Cage and the 2
Caged
full-grown Nick
alone.
Cages. Yeah.
I think the viewers won.
Yeah.
These are all really great.
Yeah.
And then Tab at Tab's tweet says Nick Cage has played Batman in Kick-Ass. He played Big Daddy, so he played kind of the Adam West interpretation in a way of Batman. Not officially,
Close.
though.
That's fair
Close
point.
enough.
Let's hope we know him, Brett.
A lot of good thoughts actually, and I could see him as the older Batman. He could probably pull that off. Jupiter Ascending is a good choice. It is the least, probably the worst film. But John had a really good knockout. I think I was just like, well, Eddie Redmayne gave a Cage performance. It still was unwatchable. So that really was a high mark for you, John. And then at the end, strangely enough, you also sort of point out Ghost Rider, which it could turn into, which would actually be worse than Batman v Superman somehow.
Yeah, it would be.
And then when you said he could fight himself somehow, like and then I thought about like the coding could have made him look like Neo to fight it. Like it could. They changed their sight. So weirdly, I'm going to go with The Matrix based on the arguments. John gets the point.
I'd see that movie.
I would too.
I would see that movie.
Teasing up and fighting himself. All right, what'd they say, Dan?
Hi.
The viewer poll is somewhat close, but 43% voted for Batman v Superman, 31% voted for The Matrix, 26% voted for Jupiter Ascending.
No Crudes.
Still
The
no
Crudes
Croods.
wasn't in the poll. Maybe they'll put it in the next poll.
You were in the Crudes, Nick. So.
And Croods too.
Yeah.
All right, round 4. This comes from Josh72 Richter. We'd like to know what's the best Nicolas Cage one-liner. Now, key here. This is the best line read. One line. What's his best line read? It is a little bit about the line itself, but it's more about his reading of said crazy line or nice, fun, dramatic, whatever line. And I believe we do have the lines you can cue up when you're ready. John, you're first.
Okay, let's just start off with my line. Let's see that go down.
I said, put the bunny back in the box.
All right.
That is a line that says more than just put the bunny back in the box. That is a convict going home to see his ladies, and that bunny represents freedom. And the only man who could deliver such a line to that magnitude is Nicolas Cage. It's threatening, it's terrifying. No other actor in the history, existence of Hollywood, anywhere in film, could ever say a line like that and make me believe it and make chills go down my body, into my spinal cord, and the fear that resonates into my body after he says that. I buy into it. That is the best threat I've ever heard in a movie in my entire life.
All right, Charlie.
All right, so I am the only lady within earshot, but I do feel like this will also affect your loins. So I think we're all together on this. This is the clip.
Would you like anything else once we're airborne?
Oh, Peach. Sit. Come here. You know, I can eat a peach for hours.
Oh God! Oh God!
That's
So
sexy.
you're picking, I can eat a peach for hours.
He's
Okay.
not talking
Yes.
about the Allman Brothers album.
So not only has he ruined peaches for everyone here, he has ruined oral sex, which is both very, very hard to do. It is such a oozingly creepy way of saying that, of saying oral, of trying to seduce this woman, and he sells it in such a great, disgusting way that you're kind of like, oh yeah, this could get weird. I could be into this. I don't know, maybe. Depending where this flight goes. And she does. She goes with him. But why I love this line reading the most is it had to be so good. It had to be so demonically creepy that when John Travolta says it later, you realize, or his family realizes, oh no, this is Nick Cage this whole time. It had to knock it out of the park, and it does. It is that sort of creepy line reading that echoes through time of Nick Cage when you think about not only his best one-liners, but also what he says is the best and most creepy, and it's great.
All right, Mark, your turn.
Andy, I chose a line that is the essence of everything that is Nicolas Cage, both in body, mind, spirit, and it works so well in the film Wild at Heart. JTE, show me something.
Hey, my snakeskin jacket! Thanks, baby! Did I ever tell you that this here jacket represents a symbol of my individuality and my belief in personal freedom?
About 50,000 times.
Nothing says individuality and personal freedom like Nicolas Cage, because that guy shows up to a movie set, he does whatever the hell he wants. He has that metaphorical jacket on at all times, whether he's doing an action flick or a drama or some sort of red box schlock fest. Nicolas Cage is always true to his heart, however nutty that may be. And that line that is repeated throughout the movie in a much cleaner way than the forced MacGuffin of Face Off is why that is the best encapsulation of who Nicolas Cage is as an actor, as a personality, and also a character in Wild at Heart.
All right, guys.
I'm gonna say I could eat a peach for hours is a phenomenal line. It's my pickup line, and it works sometimes until they call the police. I think it's a great line. I don't think it's
an iconic line. It's a line that people remember from Face Off when they think of all the amazing lines from Face Off.
Sure, but it's not the best line by any means. You know, and as far as Ellis's line goes, I can't even quote that if I tried. I can't remember even what he said. I just watched the clip and I forgot it. I've never seen anyone ever quote that in their life, and I've never seen one internet meme with that on it. As far as put the bunny back in the box, that is the most quotable Nick Cage line ever given, and it's one of the lines only Nick Cage could give.
Disagree. Could have been Bruce Willis. This could have been a Bruce Willis part, and he would have knocked it out of the
Woody
park.
Allen could have said, I could eat a peach for hours.
Disagree. I mean, you would get it by the history, but you wouldn't get the exact creepy, sexy confusion in your body and soul and your loins.
But it's like it's really disheartening to hear such a young, virile man like John Flick just be so inundated with memes that you can't actually comprehend what a great movie quote is that's more than 3 syllables. This here jacket represents my individuality and my belief in personal freedom. What he is conveying in that line is a lot of the same things that he's conveying with the bunny line, except this is not a joke. This is actually a mantra that somebody can use, whether it's a senior quote or whether it's for the rest of their life. This person lived true to who they are, as opposed to a jokey line in an action movie that had real meaning behind it, but never rises above a second-rate yippee-ki-yay MFer. And as far as the Eat a Peach goes, it is only used as a reason to show why he's that evil. And you could have had any line in there, but they're only putting it in to call it back. A lot like a comic who's going to say a line early in their set just so they can say it again later in their set, which I've tried a number of times, to get the laugh.
That's essential to the plot of the movie for it to be spoken in such a way, and he nails it. Whereas in Wild at Heart, he actually only says it twice. I just saw this movie again last night. He says it twice, and it's a great mantra, but he says it in that specific scene kind of in a throwaway fashion where she's heard it 50,000 times. Even she's bored of hearing that line. No one gets bored of hearing either of these lines, but I would argue that
I think the lady who was told Eat a Peach got pretty bored of that line after one listening.
She sucked
on that tongue and she loved it, Mark.
Well, she needed a father figure in her life.
And he provided that, and then he abandoned her. But my favorite line of Con Air is, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to save the fucking day. Sorry, F-bomb. Save the fucking day. That is an iconic, badass line, explosions behind. But the bunny line is just anyone could say that line. He has eye contact and that's great. Sure. But what is that?
See, I like the bunny line because it's different than what you get in a normal action movie, but it still never gets above just like a cheesy action movie line. And the Eat a Peach, it's just another schlocky, over the top bad guy. My quote from Wild at Heart: the reason why Laura Dern's character is having a joke with it is because she has heard this a number of times, and this defines who this man is. You clearly see how they are in love, how they are indeed wild at heart, and she acknowledges that it is because this guy has this belief in himself. It's not actually about the jacket, Andy. It ain't about the jacket. It's about his belief in personal freedom and individuality. That's the goal of that movie, and it showcased is in that line so much better than the bunny line, which is cute but ultimately forgettable. As much as the internet will try to make you remember it, this is an actual great movie.
I will say the same thing that you just said. The bunny, it's more than just a bunny. It's about freedom. It's about going home.
And the peach is more than a peach.
This is the last thing that he has to grasp onto on this plane with these maniacs. This is the freedom. This is everything that he has. This is his life. This bunny is a man's life, Mark. The jacket that you're talking about, the quote, honestly, I keep trying to remember it and I still can't do it. I've never heard anyone say
that's
it.
on you.
It's not even the best line reading of the movie, though.
And it's also a line that you could put into any movie. You could put that line into any movie and make it work. You could not put my line into any other movie.
No, because most movies are better than Con Air.
So
no, they're not. That's a line, you know it.
The second time you hear him give the line reading, he's in a party sequence, there's a metal band playing, and he almost gets in a fight, and he's staring them out, and he shakes off his jacket, and he delivers the line. That's emblematic. That's a throwaway performance.
I think that
if that's not the best line reading of the line.
If you think Face Off has a great line, then you would probably go to the violent reading of that line. But I prefer it to be an expression of where your heart is at the time versus I'm going to kick your ass. We can't get out of our action movie phrases with these two, Andy. I'm talking about a man's entire life here. This is his personal mantra as opposed to something he thought of when he was on a plane with a bunch of crazy convicts or something that an evil guy said just for the sake of calling it back later in the movie.
The character that gave your line in your film wasn't on the verge of dying. He wasn't on a plane with maniacs. My guy was about to die every second along the way. He's trying to go home. He just wants to go home. Put the bunny back in the box, please, so he can go fight Cyrus the Virus. Go home, tie the yellow ribbon around the tree. The soldier boy's coming home.
And it would be too easy to believe that it's a big line, but he doesn't deliver it in a big way. He delivers it in oozing peach dripping off his rancid mouth. It is a subtle line reading of what Nick Cage could go big on, but he doesn't, and that's why it's so effective, is the subtle menace of it. It's disgusting, but also alluring.
Final thoughts going back around. John, anything else you would like to add for your final thoughts?
I would like to say that my line was given by the only man who could give that line in such a way to where you could take it serious when you're watching the movie. You buy into it. No one's laughing at that line when they're watching the movie. Yeah, 20 years later they are, but at the time when you're watching that movie, you're enthralled. You buy into this man and his anger and this bunny, and it's a goofy line, but he delivers it in such a way that it is believable.
Charlie.
So, as I was just saying, it is the line delivery of the century because he doesn't overplay it. He says it in such a committed, creepy way that the woman looks at him, knows that this is a come-on that is so gross, knows that he is talking about going down on her like a peach, and is like, all right, I'm gonna suck on your tongue, game on. That's how subtle and disgusting and great, and it's all the layers that performance has to be for it to flip around. It is not a MacGuffin. It is an exciting point where everyone's just like, oh, yes. And it makes you excited as a viewer.
Okay, we get it. The peach is about oral sex. It's a gross line. I think the question was, what is the best one line or what is the best line reading in Nicolas Cage's history? Not what is going to make the best internet meme. Come on, you guys are better than this. If we're talking about great comedies, I'm throwing Annie Hall at you, and you're putting it back with the movie where a kid has sex with a pie. Let's talk about classic lines more so than just something that fits on a cool picture. This jacket represents my individuality and my belief in personal freedom. Flick is acting like it's some long Shakespearean play. It is not that tough to remember. It represents everything about Nicolas Cage as a man, as an actor, and as that character in love with Laura Dern. It works in multiple settings, I'll agree with you, which y'all's does not, but the best reading of it is when he's talking to his sweetheart, who they're going to have romantic turmoil throughout the entire course of their life, but because they understand each other, and she likes when he does that line, and she gives him that sly grin, it's like, this is my man because I know what he stands for and I believe in him.
All right, Dan, Mr. Cage.
Well, I will say that there were many suggestions online from people that chose their favorite, but there was one that rose to the cream of the crop. If I could, Mr. Cage, could you read that one for me, please?
That's what he's here for.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
That was the choice of the Twitter fans.
I thought about it.
A lot of them chose that one. Other than that, clean round. I would note that I'm gonna eat a peach for hours. I believe that flight attendant was a undercover cop as well, so she was
playing
along. Yes, but she did indeed
suck his tongue.
Yes.
Oh god.
She did. So
she's
that is
deep
true.
undercover.
Very deep cover. Deep cover.
Deep throat.
We had the online poll is very close. Very close.
This
right
one's
now.
rough, actually. Dan, do you have any thoughts based on this going down? I mean, I have an instinct, but I'm just curious.
For me, I would say I see where Alice is coming from from the artistic standpoint.
And Nick's wearing the jacket today.
But for me,
I still having trouble remembering it.
For me, it's between Flick
I'm trying
and Charlie.
This jacket represents my individuality.
My individuality, my belief in person.
Yes, I can't do it. I've heard it now. You said it 5 times.
I think you brought acting to a cage fight, and for me, it's between John and Charlie.
Nicolas Cage is a great actor.
I agree with you.
In this particular round, I don't know if that was the best fit. So.
Yeah, and Charlie did point out there is a later read that is actually potentially better, which was a good drop. But I did love John's backup of that bunny is his life. Like he did, there is meaning to both of these lines. But then you said Woody Allen could pull off the peach line. I don't know. I think Bruce Willis could pull off the bunny line. And I couldn't hear Woody Allen do Charlie's. So based off those arguments, I'm going to give Charlie the slight edge.
All right, fine.
The Woody Allen edge.
If you had to use Woody Allen,
that's no fair. Come on.
Woody Allen doing it would be so creepy.
Woody Harrelson then.
Better, maybe.
I will say the online poll came down to those two, and the winner by 47 to 43% right now was Charlie. I could eat a peach for hours.
So
Put the bunny back in the box. 43%.
All right, Charlie. That means you're making it to the final blind. What's it called? What do we call it?
Speed
Speed round. Sorry, I had a long day.
You kids don't know cinema.
For tomorrow's flickbait segment.
Your bunnies and your peaches.
Did way too much. Never doing that again.
It's such a good movie, Walter Hurt.
Yeah,
It's so
my
good.
whole day is messed up because I did way too much for my
We
bit
missed
tomorrow.
you. We were like, everyone was like, where is he?
I hyped my bit.
No one
I
knew where you
shouldn't.
were.
But you'll see it tomorrow at 4 p.m. All right, round 5. This one comes in from Finn's Tweets. Anthony over there at Finn's Tweets. What Nicolas Cage character would win a cage match? A bare knuckle fight to the death. Anyone you can pick. We'll start back to Charlie. Who are you picking in a bare knuckle fight?
Okay, it all comes down to who will fight longer, crazier, more Nick Cage. And when I think about that character, I'm going back to Bad Lieutenant, because Nick Cage in Bad Lieutenant has no scruples. He has got nothing. He is on that crap. He sees the edge and he snorts the edge. He does not care about anyone but himself. You would think it's his girlfriend, but he doesn't care about his girlfriend. He cares about what's going to get him high next. And when you have a character like that, ask anyone in Florida, you do not mess with them because they will kill you. They will put bath salts all over themselves and rip your face off. And there's no one who can step into this ring who is going to match that intensity. Even when he's good, even pre-drug addiction, when he is looking at the guy about to drown from Katrina, he makes fun of the dude before saving him. He is a sociopath, and I wouldn't want to see him after dark because he might mess me up. And I can't imagine who's stepping in the ring that can top him.
Mark.
First of all, Andy, he sees the edge and he snorts it is a better line than anything we argued in the last round. That is phenomenal. But I'm going to go with a young man that Nicolas Cage played that is a big fan of bunnies. Cameron Poe from Con Air. This guy has it all when you talk about a fight. He's got the guts to survive because he's got something to live for, Andy. He's got his wife and his baby girl he's just trying to get back to, so he's going to give maximum effort at all times. He's in much better shape than most other Nicolas Cage movies. This is the prime of Nicolas Cage as an action star. He's got the long flowing hair that looks great, but more than aesthetics, Andy, this is about intimidation. This is about a guy who knows how to fight. He was in the Army. The only reason he was in jail is because he was defending his wife against a drunken bar patron. He thought he was going to get off pretty easy because it's manslaughter. You know why I went to San Quentin for 10 years? Because they called him a lethal weapon, because he's got military training. Holy crap! You combine the Army training with 10 years in prison, nobody is going to top that menace in the ring, and then you add on the emotional element that he has something to live for after this fight. He's going to kill whoever he's going up against because he's got a wife and a kid, and she's got to get their bunny back.
All right, John.
I'm going to go with Nick Cage's Big Daddy in Kick-Ass. This is a man who went to prison for a crime he did not commit, and he wants to come back and serve vengeance to those who are wrong. He essentially plays a character of Batman. He's a tactician. He's a badass. He uses weaponry. He's hand-to-hand combat skills. He has a sidekick named Hit Girl. And there's a scene in this film where he takes out 27 mafia members in a matter of minutes with his bare hands. He blows it up. He takes everyone out. There's no one who could beat Nicolas Cage in this movie. He is a tactician. He's badass. And I'm going to go with, so I'm just going to go with Big Daddy.
Christopher Mintz-Plasse defeated Big Daddy and killed him.
Nick
Lovin murdered your hero. And as far as Bad Lieutenant goes, Nicolas Cage may even sleep through the fight. This is a fight at the OK Corral. He ain't showing up. He is too coked out of his mind to be able to focus. He's going to have some crazy coke strength early on. And believe me, I've been to Panama City. I've seen crazy coke strength. But after that wears off, Cameron Poe is going to be the guy who can think his way through a fight, Andy. He's seen drunken bar patrons. He's seen the scariest criminals on the face of the earth at 30,000 feet. He not only had to fend off bad guys, he had to fend off good guys who were also on his tail. He's taken down everybody in his life. I think one more crappy lieutenant is going to be an easy W for Mr. Cameron Poe.
You say his strength is his family. I say it's his weakness. If you get him in a fight and you're like, I've got your wife and child hostage. If I get Hit Girl hostage, they're out. They're going to do whatever you say. He has nothing and no one because he doesn't give a crap about his girlfriend. He just cares about the next score. There's no one who can match his intensity, no one who can match his crazy, and again, he died.
By that logic,
then,
if you put them in a cage, all Cameron Poe or Big Daddy have to do is dangle a bag of coke in front of him and throw it, and he's going to go fetch.
You tell him to fight, and you're like, you get this crack rock afterwards, he's going to fight.
Yeah, and you say this guy kidnapped your family, he's going to be killed by Cameron Poe. Look, the guy simply has too much skill, Andy. This is a Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather situation. You're putting somebody who is ill-equipped to be in the ring with Cameron Poe because, yes, Bad Lieutenant, he's going to be cracked out and fighting out of his mind. That only takes you so far.
It's a drunken master thing. If you're cracked out, you're bobbing and weaving in ways that you can't even contemplate.
I think I've done more crack than you.
That is probably the case.
In the film,
I don't know your life.
In the film Bad Lieutenant, his weakness was an iguana. He was easily distracted. You put an iguana in him, he's done. He's out for the count. Also in the film Bad Lieutenant, he had a limp and back problems. He was on painkillers. He was doped out of his mind. He could barely even walk down the street, let alone get in a bare knuckle fist fight. As far as Cameron Poe goes in the movie Con Air, the only way he's gonna get in a fist fight with anyone is if you provoke him by sexually assaulting his wife like he does in the film. Without that, he's a cool, normal dude. He's not gonna mess with you. He's not gonna be angry enough.
Not only is Terrence McDonough gonna kill you, when you die, he's gonna shoot your soul. That's how much he's going to kill you. He's going to kill your soul for dancing.
You can take all the character motivations you want as to why they are in this arbitrary fight, but once you get in the ring, I'm talking about a fight for survival. You put them in a pit, a lot like what happened to Cameron Poe on that airplane. No, he did not want to fight anybody. It's not the desire to fight that is going to win this battle. It's when you get put in a situation when the odds are stacked against you, who's going to come out on top. The answer is Cameron Poe, because he took down bad guys, he took down good guys who thought he was the bad guy. He's got military training, he's got prison pounds, he's got everything you need plus one bunny to get back to his daughter.
And he has a white tank
costs.
top. But the other thing is he's a passive-aggressive character. Big Daddy is a man. He's a tactician. He took out more characters in one scene in my film than Cameron Poe did in an entire movie of Con Air.
Until he got killed by the kid in Superbad.
He didn't get killed by McLovin. You're completely wrong on that. He did not get killed.
On fire.
He was tricked and then he was bombarded, and then he was tied into a chair and lit.
Fighting's a mental game, Flick.
He was nearly beat to death and lit on fire, and he never once gave up or surrendered.
He's a cute dummy who's running around in a suit, but Cameron Poe, not only is he a prison guy, so he has that ability too, but as a military trained operative, he also is able to tactically think his way through a fight, which Big Daddy was his fatal flaw, and Bad Lieutenant said goodbye the first time he snorted a line in Barstow.
Military training, but also scruples. He's a man who has a code. He's a good guy. He's the protagonist. He's got levels he will not reach to get the job done.
Unless you have his wife and his kid.
No scruples. If you have his wife and his kid.
I have a bag of Coke. Go fetch. I win the fight.
No, but if I have your wife and kid, I'm gonna blow their brains out. He's gonna stop the fight.
Well, I think Cameron Poe is going to win the day and save his kids. He's not just going to be, oh, you got him? Well, I guess we're going to have an awkward Thanksgiving for the rest of our lives. He's going to take life into his own hands, and he's going to go rescue his kids.
I gotta say, just to help clean this up, if they threw a bag of Coke, that really would cancel out Lieutenant. I feel like it'd be really hard to rein him in.
It would amp him up and make him go for the face.
No, he'd just go do the Coke. I think they got. So I gotta say, I think I'm just calling it so I can really get into the good, because I think Bad Lieutenant, it's with all the health problems aside, his motivations probably aren't going to be the same as Big Daddy and Cameron Poe if they're being motivated by their loved ones or whatever. So I'm just final thoughts here from you two, because it's now between you two. How does Cameron Poe take out Big Daddy? How does Big Daddy take out Cameron Poe?
Listen, Cameron Poe has a set of morals. He doesn't want to kill people. Big Daddy will slice you. He will kill you. He will do whatever it takes to take you down. He doesn't think twice about it. His skill set is much bigger than Cameron Poe's. He has hand-to-hand combat skills, gun training. He has a cape and a yellow utility belt. Cameron Poe has none of these things.
That's right. Big Daddy is a delusional fake superhero, and that's going to hurt him when he gets in the ring against somebody who actually knows how to handle himself and is not just a henchman. Cameron Poe, yes, he does not want to kill people, but he's proven in the past, if he is provoked, and in a fight you are provoked, in this scenario, he is being provoked, he knows how to handle it, he knows how to take you down quick, hard, and do it cleanly to multiple foes, whether they are the most evil people, the most rancid humans on the face of the planet, or they're the good guys who also have similar tactical training. Cameron Poe is the best of the best from an army perspective. He came out of San Quentin after 10 long years. He has family motivation to win and succeed in this fight, unlike Big Daddy, who is kind of giving up and passing the torch along to Hit Girl.
Cameron Poe almost lost in a fight against Cyrus the Virus. An old man, he's delusional. There was no threat there. There was no threat.
Big Daddy was fooled by a kid whose ID was McLovin.
But he still went up against a warehouse of 27 mafia members, fully loaded, and took every single one of them out without hesitation, without a problem. Cameron Poe was just trying to survive a couple prisoners on a plane.
You ask anybody who's ever been in a professional fight, a lot of it is physical, but the better part of it is mental. He can outsmart Big Daddy, because Big Daddy got outsmarted by a guy who was a sexy hamburger.
Whew, all right. This is rough. Nick Cage, what do you think?
Of course, you're all conveniently forgetting about the Croods. I played a giant caveman. I have the caveman strength. Yeah, if this is a bear...
I thought you were going to say maybe Ghost Rider or something.
If this is bare knuckle brawl...
That's a great argument.
I say go for the caveman. You know, he's the patriarch of the Croods. He's the hunter of the family.
One of his families up there.
He has caveman strength.
Wow, I thought it was the bit was going south, but you sold me there at the end.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yeah, that was Twitter's opinion as well. Many people are very surprised that nobody picked Ghost Rider, considering that he is an undead spirit of vengeance. and would have a leg up on any of the mortals.
That's a good point as well.
That was my second option.
I'm not gonna lie to you. These two guys on the couch got some pretty good fighting skills.
You guys haven't seen guys on coke at a fight. That's all I'm saying outside a bar.
In the way that I in the arena of fact checking, I think that Mark is overstating McLovin's influence on Big Daddy's death. He was part of the events, but it was also his father who was still around. It was his goons, so it was a McLovin co-production. It wasn't just McLovin.
Where are you going based on these arguments?
Ooh. I agree that Bad Lieutenant's got way too much going on. Way too much going on. I have to be honest, I was leaning toward Cameron Poe, but Big Dad... It's a toss-up for me.
Yeah.
I think John closed very strong. I think Ellis kind of was dominating, and then
Ellis
John
was
closed
dominating,
very
and
strong.
John did come back. And that's exactly my notes as well. But then Mark did have he is a delusional superhero if Cameron Poe is provoked. That's where I get hung up on the end. I feel like Big Daddy was beaten. Cameron Poe was not. So based on that as the slight edge, I gotta give it to Mark. But that was
the fans aren't sure about that one. It's not a hearty round of applause for Cameron Poe.
Good arguments from both from all three of you, really. Plus, Mark did throw out the if you throw a baggie of coke at Bad Lieutenant, which was another notch point for you.
It's a great diversion.
Bravo, Mark and Charlie. All right, so John, you're still in this. You're gonna help him. Bravo.
Right.
What a good fight.
Can I say Flick would win in a fight in real life?
In a real fight, he'd kick us all our
it.
asses. That's definitely true. All right, you guys know how speed round works.
You
Let's
don't
get
know
to
what
it.
I'm capable of.
Get her some
Help me
coke.
here, judge
These
this.
pistols?
Okay, here we go.
Oh, God.
Speed round. You know how this works. Let's do it. For National Treasure 3, what relic, landmark, or item should Cage steal next?
Ark of the Covenant.
Okay.
The Statue of Liberty.
All right. Go ahead, Charlie.
So they should steal the Ark of the Covenant because you've got the added pressure of it opening and them taking all of your faces. I want to see them go on this wild adventure, and they've got to find where Indiana Jones has left it. So it would actually be a crossover event between National Treasure and Indiana Jones, and who doesn't want to see Harrison Ford versus Nicolas Cage?
All right.
I think it would just feel like reaching and you're trying to go back to Raiders of the Lost Ark. You can't make a better movie than Raiders of the Lost Ark, but the first movie where you steal the Statue of Liberty, you're just upping the stakes to an incredible degree. A lot like when David Copperfield made it disappear. You're incorporating magic elements in here, but Nicolas Cage and his team of rogue bandits can do it. They can outsmart the bad guys just in time to make the Statue of Liberty disappear and
But
reappear.
David Copperfield already did it. It was already a television event. I don't want to see that as a movie.
Indiana Jones already got the Ark.
Excuse me, sir.
Don't interrupt her speed round time.
It's already happened. It's already been on TV. I've seen it. I want to see something new. I don't think you can need to replace Raiders of the Lost Ark, but you can talk about it and bring it into the new fold. I want to see Harrison versus Nick Cage.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of the great movies of all time, and this would look like a immensely immeasured copycat, as opposed to stealing the Statue of Liberty, which is also ridiculous, but it's ridiculous in a fun new way,
And
as
now
opposed to
you
the way
see
we've
me, now
seen
you
before.
don't.
All right. I heard enough there. John, what do you think based on those arguments?
As far as Statue of Liberty goes, the Ghostbusters stole it already as well in part 2. But
based on the arguments, though.
And we have seen it done multiple times. I mean,
We have?
Well, in other movies, so nothing really original. But you know what? As far as the argument goes, I don't buy into it. I don't see it happening. The Statue of Liberty being stolen anytime soon. I'm gonna go with your argument. I buy it. I can see it happening.
Picking Charlie. All right.
Yeah.
Nick Cage, what do you think?
I mean, I do already own the Ark of the Covenant.
It's a lot easier to get. It's a prop.
It's true.
I'm gonna have to go with the Statue of Liberty on this one.
But you do think he would have a way to steal that?
Oh yeah, he would incorporate the help of France. It was originally a gift, and now they're taking it back.
You hear it by the line delivery. I can see that on the trailer.
Dan, based on the arguments?
Based on the arguments, it's much tougher than based on the answers.
Yes.
Because the idea of the Statue of Liberty is great. But if I'm basing it on the arguments, I have to try to temper that.
Thank you for the
I mean,
compliment.
I think the Indiana Jones thing hurts it for me.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Well, you're going for what's stupider in a way, right? Because as he said, you want the dumb fun.
And I think
Statue of Liberty is a great idea.
Is stupider, and the Ghostbusters didn't steal the statue.
They borrowed it.
They borrowed it.
On its own
If
cognizance.
anything, where it was. No one remembers the David Copperfield thing. I think it's more in line with the National Treasure brand.
Statue of
I'm
Liberty.
gonna go with the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, I gotta go Statue of Liberty too. All right. Mark gets the first point. Here we go. Not including the man himself. Who should play Nicolas Cage in a biopic?
Christian Bale.
Michael Shannon.
Ooh.
Good answers.
I want to see both of those movies right now, first of all.
Shannon versus Bale. All right, Mark, you're first.
Christian Bale is an Academy Award-winning actor who has, like Michael Shannon, played biographical roles before, but Christian Bale brings to it is an ability to physically transform himself, like movies in The Machinist, where he got really big for a movie like Batman, where we haven't seen that ability from Michael Shannon yet. He's kind of the same character in every movie. Christian Bale can be a chameleon depending on what the role requires.
Charlie?
I think Michael Shannon has in the eyes the crazy necessary to be Nick Cage. I want to see him with his Presley moment where he has lost all of his money, he's marrying the Elvis's daughter, and he doesn't know where his ass is from his elbow. I want to see him go full out and be Michael Shannon to an nth degree in a way that Nick Cage will only bring out of him. And to see that movie, you would get a depth of Nick Cage you wouldn't be able to otherwise.
10 seconds.
I feel like Michael Shannon was great as Elvis, but you were trying to capture Nicolas Cage. I think it would be through the vein of Elvis, and it would be a caricature, whereas Christian Bale would actually get into the man Nicolas Cage and not just play this over-the-top
But
cartoon.
Nicolas Cage is someone who's obsessed with Elvis, so that's just one quality on top of it. Michael Shannon could portray all of that. It'd be a fascinating portrayal of someone who has lost his way, but is so talented, and you could see it play on his face in a way that you won't with Christian Bale.
Ooh. Nick Cage, let's go to you first, based on the arguments.
I mean, maybe Michael Shannon could play Tiny Elvis, but of course he can't play me. Nobody can play me is what I'm trying to say.
So you're not comfortable with either of those choices?
I'm one of a kind, no.
All right. Dan?
It's all in the eyes. I think that landed with me. That's true. So I think so much of Nicolas Cage is in the eyes. And I think they both made good arguments for why their actors were good. So that unhinged quality, that's what I think I'm going to side with Charlie. That's what kind of put me on her
John?
side.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I could actually see Christian Bale in the role, but your reasons for why, especially with the eyes, like Dan said, I'm going to go with Michael Shannon.
Yeah, the eyes sold me too.
Yeah.
Charlie, you get the points. We're even again.
Good, that Elvis line. Yeah, that was good.
What Nicolas Cage film, which has never had one, most deserves a sequel?
The Rock.
Ooh. I'll go... Oh, that's tough. Face Off.
She went there.
Two of the trilogy.
Face Off and The Rock. Here we go, Ellis, you're first.
The Rock is a franchisable action adventure, and I can't believe they haven't made a sequel to it already, because you could have Stanley Goodspeed, who now is a little bit more wise in the ways of wet works. He can go into other very scary high-target areas where terrorists have taken over, because there's terrorism all over the world. You can update it for the times we live in. He and somebody, maybe bring Sean Connery back, or another older veteran can break into North Korea, for example. You can modernize it for the times.
The Rock is Alcatraz. They've already done it. They've already been there. Whereas with Face Off, we have technology that is so new now. We can have this complete new other cyber portion of it. We've got Nick Cage and John Travolta reprising, but then we've got a third face. So now there's three faces running around, and you don't know who's who, and you can only go by their acting portrayals because they have to have such deep characters that you can be like, oh, that's John Travolta playing Sam Rockwell.
It would be a great Saturday morning cartoon. However, Nicolas Cage's character died in Face Off, and he survived The Rock. So I think that's a one-up as far as making a sequel with Nicolas Cage primarily involved as the action hero that he can
We're
be.
talking action movies. People die all the time and come back to life. That's not an argument. I want to see three faces off. Faces off. 20 years is the right time to bring this back around. It is the moment for Face Off 2.
Wow.
Two
All right.
faces, three
I
off.
kind of want to see them both for some reason. I loved the breaking into North Korea, and then I did love adding the third face.
I think breaking into North Korea would be
You
done
both
with
gave me
other
good
faces.
plots there, so I'm torn. Go to you first, John. What do you think?
I want to see both as well. As far, I really do, and I want to talk about him for like 3 hours. But the thing is, you had a good point. He dies in Face Off. It's very hard, but with your concept, you can go into modern day terrorism. It makes sense to have Nick Cage team up with somebody else besides Sean Connery again. I could see those things happening, and I think it lends itself to a better sequel. So I'm gonna go with Mark.
See, what's more realistic, him coming back to life or getting Sean Connery?
That's my thing. I don't think you get Sean Connery.
You don't get Sean
He's
Connery.
retired, and
you get Pierce Brosnan.
there's a third
You
face.
could have anyone though.
Andy,
I like the
There's a
Brosnan.
third
Yeah.
face. That's kind of all I needed to hear.
Yeah,
So I'm going with Face Off
Because I was so sold with Mark until the third face
There's a
came
third
out.
face
That was
floating
just
around
one of
there.
those, you were running and you found it and
If
you
they
reached
can
for
take
it.
a guy's face off, they can bring him back from the dead. That's what I say.
Yeah, if you get 3 faces, you can bring them back to life. They've kept them on ice because Sam Rockwell wants to get on it too. Whatever it is, all right.
What
They
does
were
Mr.
both
Cage
great.
think?
You both. I wish I could both give you points, but I can't. Charlie will get that point though.
Triple face-off, 3-card Monty.
There you go.
Who would want to say that?
Here we go. Next up. Ooh.
Oh boy.
Is that fair?
I like where this is going.
I know.
That feels good.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you think it's fair?
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Is
All
it
right.
do a line of Coke and then do a Nicolas Cage?
I think it's fair. Here we go. I'm gonna name 2 films.
Uh-oh.
Tell me what's better. Let's do it. The Rock versus Face Off.
The Rock.
Face Off.
Oh wow!
We're right back where we were 5 minutes
go.
ago.
Yeah, it's great.
Let's hear this out. All right, Rock versus Face Off. You're first, Mark.
The Rock is the greatest action movie of the 90s because you take an all-time acting legend like Sean Connery, you pair him with a rising star like Nicolas Cage, you have a up-and-coming, at the time, director before he got Transformers, Michael Bay. It's a great combination of neat premise where you actually have to break into Alcatraz. There's so many movies where you have to break out of prison. You never had to break into prison before, and Ed Harris's bad guy lends a gravitas to the role that you do not get in a cartoon like Face Off.
People don't remember that Face Off is actually a sci-fi movie, so it's a sci-fi action movie, and it's directed by John Woo. So you've got these operatic, beautiful pigeons flying or doves flying through the air. You've got these battles between guns. It's a face down between John Travolta and Nick Cage, and they're both in their element. They're hamming it up. They're also restraining themselves to be the protagonist. It is fun. It is engaging. It is something that people remember forever.
The flaws in Face Off are a lot more apparent, whether it's the obvious use of stuntmen or it's Nicolas Cage and John Travolta clearly masking the fact they just love doing impressions of each other, or it's John Woo stealing a lot of his better stuff from his previous movies. Michael Bay was furthering his own action
The Rock's
career.
anniversary has come and gone. Face Off people are actually celebrating. Oh, sorry, am I still arguing or?
She did. So Mark gets more time.
Oh no, wait! I didn't do nothing.
Wait, did we? Are we talking
No,
about?
I
Okay, sorry.
think Charlie had a rebuttal.
Oh, sorry.
Oh
Did you get it?
yeah.
I
Sorry,
interrupted you.
it looked like you were
I
done.
thought I heard it. Sorry, go ahead.
I was like, I was an easy
You guys were
round
so
to win.
quick. I was losing track.
Marcus running over, so I was trying to get him to.
Sorry, finish your rebuttal.
Okay, so The Rock has already had an anniversary come and gone. The Face Off is 20 years and we remember it. People remember Face Off because it's an interesting concept that has never been done before. The Rock has been done before. You've seen these sorts of action sequences, but you've never seen a Face Off. Except for Face Off.
Did you get enough?
I did.
Okay, did you get enough?
Yeah, I feel like I did.
All right, John, go ahead.
Ooh, that's a tough one. You guys both made good points. I think Mark made more points against your movie. So for that, I'm gonna go with Mark on that one.
Dan?
That's what won me over too. Mark brought up something that I didn't even remember that is one of the very few things that I actually don't like again about Face Off, which is the obvious use of stuntmen. He's right.
That prison
the
scene is
stuntmen
horrific to
are
watch.
so bad in Face Off. I have to side with Mark based on the negative points that he brought up against Face Off.
Nick, why do you use a stuntman?
I'm with you. That puts us in a tie. Nick, yeah, what do you
Because
think?
I don't want to ruin my beautiful face. Although both films have great quotes, we have The Rock with, "How in the name of Zeus's butthole did you get out of your cell?" And we have Face Off with, "I could take my face off for hours." I'm gonna have to go with Face Off because it's just a lot of stupid fun. And that's what I enjoy in my own movies. It's just stupid fun.
Well, I'm going to give Mark the point, but Charlie, that makes you. Cage himself picked Face Off, so there you go.
Okay.
So, but Mark, we're now tied. Last question.
Gotta go with The Rock
Here we go.
again sometimes.
I'm going to go crazy here. If you could recast any Star Wars role with Nicolas Cage, what would be the most effective swap?
The Emperor.
That's ridiculous. Qui-Gon.
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 Wow. I could see both of those.
I would have said Jar Jar Binks.
All right, we got the Emperor up first. This is for all the marbles.
Lisa Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, if you recall, before he just became the Emperor, Senator Palpatine was a very cunning trickster in politics, and Nicolas Cage can pull off that charming guy, but also there's depth behind those eyes, and what's going to be lurking as a Sith Lord when he gets into the role of the Emperor. He can have fun being a little over top with the blue lightning. You can see the eyes that we always talk about with Nicolas Cage going crazy with the blue lightning, teaching and apprentice going against the good guys. That's what Nicolas Cage can do this thing.
But there's a bright, shiny arrow that says this is an evil character that is going to come and kill everybody. I want to see him be a restrained Joe type character. I want to see him take someone by the hand and teach him the Jedi way. I think he has it in him. I want to see the long hair. I feel like he's got the kicks. We've seen him do jumping kicks. He's got the athleticism, and I also feel like he has the soul and spirit of a Jedi.
Unfortunately, everybody can rewind back to when you shit on the Sorcerer's Apprentice so bad because he was trying to play a good wizard.
That was your call!
He gets to be a bad wizard, and unlike Qui-Gon, the Emperor survives multiple movies and lives on after death. We haven't seen Qui-Gon since Phantom Menace.
Charlie gets some extra time, yep.
We don't see him but once, but you only need once. You only need one time to see him really act this out, do the role, be an action star, and do the sort of samurai movie that George Lucas wants you to see. And he has that in him. He has that nobility and that knighthood, and you want to see him fight Darth Maul.
That was it. Everything. Time's in.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm torn. Is it because he picked the Emperor? He didn't pick Palpatine. Well, does that matter? Because they were different people.
No, they weren't.
No, and then Empire wasn't.
I think it's the same person.
It wasn't.
It's the same actor. The same actor.
He gets transformed into Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, but are you picking? That's what I'm saying. Which? Because in Empire.
I'm sorry. I refer to him as Emperor Palpatine. But if you wanted to, like, you can isolate him.
But you meant Palpatine.
Yeah,
yes,
and you're going
the
from
entire arc of
got it. Because the Emperor is more, I think, Empire. Than it's which wasn't Ian McDiarmid. It was who was the original Emperor?
Ian McDiarmid.
He played the original.
Yeah, in Return of Jedi. Yeah.
Turned to Showdown.
Yeah, he was Jedi. And he was also the best part of the original trilogy.
There's a random person in Empire Strikes Back that.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay,
nobody remembers that because
I thought that we brought him in as a specialist. All right, so then it's fair. Okay, let me gather my thoughts then, John.
Oddly enough, I could see Nick Cage playing a good guy Jedi in the Star Wars films for some odd reason. But Mark's points, his reasons for being the Emperor, I could see him starting out as you don't quite know if he's a dubious character or not, and then he turns into a complete jerkwad. I'm gonna go with Mark on that one.
Nick Cage.
I like the idea of bad Emperor, Port of Call, New Orleans. So I'm gonna have to go with that one.
Dan?
The way that they set up their arguments was that I have to choose between restrained Nick Cage and crazy Nick Cage. And I think the one that I would rather see is crazy Nick Cage, so I gotta go with the Emperor also.
Well, look, it's up to me. He does have the soul and spirit of a Jedi. That was a good line, and I do agree. I mean, I think he could totally play that role. But I really want to see him with the blue lightning.
Yes. The long fingernails? Yes. Yes.
So, that was so close, Charlie, but I gotta give the win. Eke it out to Mark Ellis!
Unlimited power's a damn thing, but
Bravo.
great fight.
Wow.
Great fight.
Eked it out.
I gotta do more coke next time, man. I
I gotta thank all you guys for coming. Mark Ellis. Mark Ellis Live on Twitter, and we got to thank you and Schmozno. You're trying to get them over the 300 subscribers.
We're this close, guys. Go there, subscribe
so
on
go over Schmozno on YouTube and subscribe, and then go over to Flick Pick and subscribe there.
Well, yeah.
Let's get John a nice big boost as well at John Flickinger on Twitter and Movie vs. Movie on Plus. A lot of places to find you, but yeah, anything else you want to sort of call out?
No, yeah, definitely look out for Movie vs. Movie. It's a fun time. We're shooting season number 2. Lots of popcorn. I love doing it, so check it out.
It is super fun, and I love your flick trips and all that stuff on your channel as well,
man.
so go support there. Charlie Feldman at Charlie Feldman. People can see you at SJ News. Where else would you like to send them?
My Twitter is pretty fun. Charlie_Feldman. Come join me. We have a time. Sometime.
Bravo, all three. Dan Merle at Merle Dan, thank you for coming. And Nicolas Cage, bravo. I hear your Twitter is at Brock Baker.
Yes, weird name, weird choice. But yes, that is my Twitter handle.
Not the bees. It's not the bees. It's at Brock Baker to find Mr. Nicolas Cage if you'd like to tweet at him.
It's just a cool name.
It's a really cool name.
It's a great
Where can we see the Croods?
You can see the Croods.
On Netflix?
I think so, or maybe Hulu.
Bflix. All right, and please tune in to Flickbait every Friday at 4 p.m. We'll see you there. Thank you, all of you, for coming. What a wonderful fight. Please tune in to Flickbait Fridays at 4 p.m. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next week for the Viewer's Choice Championship fight. Bye-bye.
It's fight night! Not the beat! A, B, C, D.
They're plastic! Guys are plastic! Learn how to get burned! Good call, baby doll.
Okay, let's ride.